So really, there was no point of inviting me because I wasn't going to go, because I don't really talk to them like that. I only keep in communications with Tasha just to see how Gillian and Claudia was doing and all that stuff, because we would go weeks and months without talking to each other because I really didn't even like Tasha's ways like that, because I already knew she was like attention seeker. So once again, I see Gillian's not there, but her son's there. So we're all just like talking, and her mom's there. We're all talking, and they're saying how, you know, with the weight loss and everything like that. And then Claudia ends up showing up with a friend. But before she comes with her friend, we're all starting to get something to eat. So I get like the little bit of stuff that I know I could eat. Tasha rolls her eyes. She was like, you know, it's a party. You don't have to constantly be on a diet. So I kind of like, I peeped that, but then Jessica and Kamisha was like, no, she had weight loss surgery. She had weight loss surgery. And her eyes open like that, like, oh. I was like, yeah, I can't eat that much. My stomach is the size of a banana. I only could eat a little bit. She was like, oh, okay. Yeah, you feel stupid. The hell you catch an attitude with me? Because everybody's talking about me, like, that's how I knew something. She had to have something against me, because now she's not the center of attention anymore. Everybody's focusing their attention on me. So when Claudia comes, we start talking. I don't know how we ended up talking, and I told her, you know, I want to give my condolences for her losing the twins, and you know, I know that must have been hard for her. It must have been a very hard period for her, and we just ended up talking, and she's just like we went outside, and we just we was, you know, like going back and forth, and then I realized like my kids was inside. Like, I told my kids to come outside where I was, because if Dre ends up yelling at y'all, it's going to be some issue again. And then he's a pedophile. Like, I already have that in the back of my mind. Like, I have an autistic daughter that's not talking. So we end up getting back cool or whatever. We start talking to each other. So then she's showing me the pictures of the babies, how they look, and, you know, like, you know, what she had to go through. She was still working at the fertility clinic, and all the stuff that she was going through in Miami and all that stuff. So when I go back inside, because she was there with the friend, so she started like talking to her friend, so her friend wouldn't feel, you know, left out, because her friend don't know nobody there. So her friend, when she went to go talk to her friend, I went back inside, had my kids go back inside, and they started playing with the kids. And as I'm sitting there, Isabel, Tasha, Kamisha, and I think Jessica was there, and they started talking about how dark the babies were, and how you know, Isabel, for somebody that likes to talk about how people look, for you to look like the Penguin from Batman in the 1990s, you have a lot of nerve. You have a lot of nerve. Because she was about to say how uncute the baby were, and then there was like, yeah, but you know, you look at the dad, you know, he black as hell, and so I'm just sitting there. I just got up. I got up, and I was like, okay, you know what, it's time for me to go. Here these babies done passed away, and all y'all could do is talk about how they look, about how dark they are. And then there's two dark-skinned people in the midst of this conversation. So I end up going home, going about my life, going about my business. And then a couple of days later, Tasha, no, not Tasha. Claudia ends up calling me, so we start talking around this time. Not every day like we used to, but it was like I would just check up on her, see how she's doing, see how her mental is. Because, I mean, if you could try to kill yourself over a dude, I know you're not mentally stable about 2 kids that you had, but she seemed like she was okay, which was weird to me. Because like I said, like, even though the first time I knew you was doing it for attention, but the second time I didn't know what was going on. And she was holding it pretty well. I guess because some months went by or whatever, but she was okay with it. And then she started talking about how, how their relationship was, and, like, she was the one always working. So I already knew, like, she already was throwing that in his face, and that she didn't like the simple fact that he would go to his cousin's house all the time. And his cousin was basically a man whore. And he had a wife and kids at home, but they lived a good life, from what she said, in Miami. Like, they had a beautiful house. His cousin was living a good life, to the point where they would refer people to do, like, their taxes. Because even if you don't file taxes, there was that point in that around the pandemic for you to get that $1,200 check. So they were referring, like, a lot of people. And mind you, Claudia's she's bilingual. She speaks Creole very well. So she was referring, that's how they was making extra money. And I guess they was doing so well that she was like, yeah, we would been having his cousin, giving his cousins a lot of referrals. And she goes to say that her husband ends up buying him an iPhone. Mind you, I know I already got my iPhone on a special. Mind you, I didn't even have the updated one. And she still had an LG or a Samsung or something, and hers was like broken or something. I'm like, how does he get an iPhone before you do? Like, shouldn't have been the opposite of... Shouldn't that be opposite? Because you're the one who's working. Like, once again, these men who always think, like, having these materialistic things is gonna make them whatever. But she's suspecting him of cheating because he was always with the cousin, always going to the cousin's house.